Guys, it is hot today. It has been hot and dry. We barely received any rain for the last, I don't know, a month and a half or so. The other day we got probably a quarter inch or less of rain, which was actually really nice, but wasn't enough to close up all the cracks in the ground. But it gave everything a nice drink, I suppose. But man, the heat and the humidity is just out of control here. Give you guys an idea of what the field looks like. Quite brown. Everything went to seed really fast, probably just due to how hot and dry it's been. The spring came and was really nice, and then it was over really fast. So we're taking some steps this year, hopefully make some better decisions for our pastures and keep everything growing a little bit longer. Although if we don't get any rain, I don't know how much of a hope there is for that. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what we're working on. One thing we're doing this year is we're trying to make sure not to cut down any good trees that we want to keep. So we got different kinds of trees growing all throughout our pasture, and usually they get, brush hogged or just mowed up or whatever. But this year we're trying to make sure that any good trees that we want to keep, that we don't chop them. And I think this is going to be really beneficial moving forward. It's not really going to help much right now, but over the next 5 years or so, as these trees grow, they're going to offer more shade. And shade is really beneficial. The best spots on our land for pasture is along the tree line, and out front on the north side, where we have the majority of the trees still in the pasture, that's really good grass out there. So it's really telling that that's the best spots on our land. So we want as many trees as we can have. We did transplant a few, and some of them took, but most of them didn't. It's just too hot already. So we're taking some different steps. We're just trying to make sure that the trees that we have already growing are not cut down or eaten by the sheep. Another thing that we're doing is we're trying not to cut the grass too low. So this side here is where the sheep are going to be headed next. This side here is actually where they came from. And you can see all the seed heads over here, and eventually we're going to want to trim all that. But we don't want to cut it all the way down, and we don't want to let somebody hay it, because they'll cut it all the way down to the dirt. So we've actually just trimmed the top off of all of this, and that's what we're doing any place that we have some good grass growing, is we're just trimming the top off. And for us, we don't have the equipment, so it's a lot of manual work, but it's worth it. And well, I guess we'll get to see if it's worth it if we get some better yield through the end of the year. Now you can see over here these nice persimmon trees that we have. And these ones in particular have been growing probably since last year. So we've made sure to let these grow. And this one right here in particular is really nice. They seem to grow pretty fast, so I'd say over the next few years this should be a pretty sizable tree and might even offer a little bit of shade. So it's a long-term investment, but it will be really beneficial in the coming years. We have tons of elm trees growing. They're little tiny guys, but we'll see if they grow at a good rate or not. We'll go over here and take a look at the sheep. They got some nice afternoon shade, so they're loving that. This is a good spot for them. Well, hey there, guys. Look at this. He's not much smaller than his mom. He's only about 5 weeks old, I think. Man, he's getting huge. Are you getting big? I'd say so. What's up, buddy? Very affectionate little guy. Just like his mom. She's about the sweetest little thing that we got here. Her and Joy over there, the white one. Man, one of the big problems that we got is ticks here. Anywhere around the trees especially. They're really bad. The only thing that you can really do about that is spray yourself down and try to stay away from the trees as much as possible. There's ticks in the field too, but I don't notice them too often crawling on me unless I go by the trees. So I think they like the shade a little bit more, and when it's hot out here like it is, I don't think they have a good chance surviving out in the grass for too long. But next to these trees, like when I go set up this fence, I got ticks all over me. So that part of it's really tough. Hard to oh, I got somebody jumping on me here. Hard to avoid the ticks, but some bug spray and avoiding the tree line is really the only good way. You're cute. You got a sweet face just like your mom too. Yeah, you do. Look at this guy. He just follows me around now. He just bawed at me, which was kind of new. I've heard him baw before, but he don't usually baw at me. Are you a good boy? Hmm? Are you a good boy? Now don't jump on me though. No. That's one thing I don't think you really want to let them jump on you and stuff. You gotta have some sort of rules, some kind of boundary with them. Joy's over there getting some shade. But so we moved them into this paddock last night. I mean, you can't barely tell that they've been in here other than their little bedding areas. They barely make a dent in this stuff. So what we've been doing is one day moves, and we follow up with the 2 rams and the other 2 ewes that are over here. So it's getting a little bit more eaten and a little bit more trampled. So it still only ends up being 2 days in a paddock. I wouldn't want to do more than that, just due to parasites and stuff. But that seems to be working out. They just really weren't doing enough or having enough impact on their paddock to just move them in a day. So with following up with the other set behind them, they're doing pretty good. So we had, let's see, 7 lambs, 4 rams and 3 ewes. They're all doing awesome. The little twins are doing really good. There's one of the little twins. It always makes me a little bit nervous to put them up against a tree line, especially when there's lambs in here. But we haven't had any problem with it. You really got to make sure that you got a hot fence. You can't have too much stuff that's growing, leaning up against your fence. I mean, a couple little things, but you don't want a whole bunch of stuff on your electric fence because it'll just drain it. And you got to make sure that the bottom of the fence is all the way down to the ground. So you got to be really careful with that, because you wouldn't want a coyote or something able to crawl under there. Look at that, we got some blackberries, or some people are calling them wild black raspberries. I'm not sure what they are. They look tasty though. But we haven't had any issue with predators. Very thankfully. Everybody's doing good in here. And they're gonna be. But so this plan has been working out pretty good so far. You know, we're running the two different groups. We got the adult rams in a separate paddock, and then we got the little nursery here with all the ewes and lambs. And so the ewes and lambs are going first, and then the rams are following up behind them and kind of finishing off whatever they left. That seems to be working out pretty good. And then on top of that, doing the trimming, cutting off all the seed heads and making sure it's not too tall. Now, we weren't doing that up until just recently, but I'll show you the other field where we've done that whole west field over there. And so it looks nice and groomed, and it really looks ready for sheep. As this stuff out here, not so much. I mean, you can still see all the seed heads and stuff out there, but I'm going through our field as a whole and finding areas of stuff that we just don't want or need, or that we know that the sheep aren't going to eat, and I'm actually just mowing that stuff down. And so that'll give the carbon back to the soil. And I'm not mowing it down too short, but the mower only goes so high. It only goes to like 4 inches, I think, which isn't really ideal, but for those areas where there's just nothing really good growing, I don't mind just cutting that down and giving something else that we might want to grow there a chance. So, but I'll show you that west field and show you what we've done over there. And we're going to be heading back that way. So once we get to that side, the sheep are really going to have a good spot. Everybody's up grazing now, except for a couple, or except for one. We got one mom over there. They're probably saying, awesome to be next to the trees and have this shade. They always have some shade, but they can't really leave it to go graze. Right now they got about half their paddock that's shaded. There's our last winter's lamb there. She's doing really good. So this area behind me, this is our west field, and this is the area that we've pretty much trimmed all the seed heads back, and we had a couple little spots that we mowed because there just wasn't anything good growing in there, and we just wanted to make sure that we gave the grass a better opportunity to grow and get rid of some of the useless weeds that were there. But for the most part, everything that's growing out here right now, the sheep will eat. And there's a huge majority of grass. There's still other things growing out there, which is fine. We're not after a monoculture of grass with sheep. You know, we don't have horses or something like that. So this is perfect for us, but we haven't mowed any of this except for the real short spots. The majority of this we actually clipped. So I went out there and took all the seed heads off, and that's, you know, it'd be nice to have a machine that would cut it 8 or 10 inches high, but at this point it's just doing it by hand. But you know, it's just this side for now, and we're gonna see what the results are. And I want to see how much the sheep will eat once they get over here. I want to see what their paddocks look like after they've moved through. If it looks like they've eaten more, you know, maybe the grass is a little bit more palatable to them. Once it's had the seed heads cut off and it's not just gone to a woody, real woody leaf and stem, maybe they'll eat a little bit more of it. But we'll just see what it looks like. It was a lot different previously. You know, out on the other side, you couldn't really tell where they had eaten much of the plants. You could just see where they had bedded down and kind of dug little holes. Whew, it is hot out here. But they're saying we're supposed to get some thunderstorms possible today, but they say that every week, and we usually don't get any. They just kind of go right around us. So that's how it was last year too. And so I'm expecting that's how it's going to be this year, except for it started a lot sooner. You know, the lack of rain started way sooner this year. So I think we're probably in for a worse drought even than what we saw last year, so I don't want it to be too much of a shock. We're already trying to make these plans now, not cut the grass too short, and just make smarter decisions since we have some knowledge of the climate here now. So that's pretty much what we've been up to, guys. I appreciate you all watching. I hope you, if you enjoyed it, you like and subscribe and share our videos, and we'll see you next time.